A lesson on how to do a soft stand-up, flat bottom, small weight. You obviously are, well, you don't have to have a machine. I will kind of show you a way to do it without. But we are going to get started. We have our little piece of foam core for the bottom. It is I think it's called 3/16. It's like a 1/4 inch thick versus the 1/8 inch I use on pretty much everything else. And fabric has our fusible interfacing on it. This is for our bottom. This is a 1 inch nut. They have a great weight. I believe it's galvanized. It won't rust. So this is just a little weight we're going to put in the bottom to make sure that it stays vertical a little better than just constantly tipping over if it's not weighty enough. We have our fishing line, cording, backing material. So let's get our backing material pinned on. Many times I have little bits left over, and we utilize every last little part in these endeavors. So we're going to have our hole we need to leave a hole at the bottom, and I'd like to make it as big of an oval as possible. Luckily they stitched it with a nice flat area. This one stitch row will be turned under so that we have a nice flat edge to go across the bottom. This canvas is done as a ornament as well. I've done it both ways. I've done it as an ornament with a flat bottom and a hanger in case they want to put it as an ornament versus a stand-up for someone that was giving a gift. So this time what I'm going to do, so I put pins like this so I know to stop and do a gap jump. But you're going to see that on this particular one, I'm going to put a second jump. And I'll stitch here to here. And this is why. Long skinny pieces being turned out, right-sided out through a tiny opening. I just hate undoing everything that I did for blocking because I have to turn it out in such a folded manner. It just isn't pretty. So I'd rather just do a hand stitch on the side. I think I'm going to go up to there. Okay. And then the rest, I'm just tacking down the material. I don't put pinholes up in and under through the seam because this is silk and I don't want to leave little holes all the way in. I only do it along the edge or beyond the edge. And when I do these as an ornament, I do not leave a hole at the top. I start and finish the cording down at the bottom. Oh great, I just kind of snagged my nail on this canvas because it's so rough. Go through, probably has a little glue residue on it. You can always tell when it's time to put them through the Goo Gone sponge that I have. Alright, we can just get that out of here. Alright, let's go over to the sewing machine. Alright. Start here. Sorry, I have to get a little adjusted. I'm not used to a camera in my face over at my sewing machine. My sewing machine doesn't always like to do what I ask it to do right away. It's old and faithful, and I'm not going to tick it off, so I just let it do what it's gonna do. It doubles as a monogramming machine, so yeah, just be nice to me, and Mr. Machine, Miss Machine, and I will let you hesitate as much as you want. Yeah, I talk to my machine. What of it? Don't tell me you don't. Usually it's not very nice words when it's misbehaving. Right along that seam edge. I really don't lose any stitches because if any show through, I'm just going to cover them with cording anyway, so I don't really care. Sometimes I do it because it looks like maybe the shape is overstitched a little and it doesn't look the same as the other side, but a lot of times it's rectified with the stuffing. You don't always see it. Okay, now I'm going to jump this entire area again because we want our to be able to turn it out on that side. Take that little curve off there. We're going to come all the way around to there. So I used to leave like a gap from here. I'd just stop sewing and then I'd hand sew it to here. But what I found was that the strength of this stitch is so much better, the machine stitch at the bottom, for putting that piece of foam core at the base, that I decided to make the turn hole here and have that extra strength at the bottom. It just makes life easier. I mean, sometimes with that fishing line, the knot might pull out a little bit, it gets stretched as it's stuffed. So I just tried to negate that altogether. All right, so let's switch back over to the other table. Take all of these pins out. Now I promise I will tell you what you have to do to, if you want to do just the hand sewing it all the way around, because you do not have a machine. So we're going to take our 1/4 inch. Anywhere, I give myself a little bit more canvas in the jump hole, in the stuffing hole, the turnout hole, whatever you want, and fabric, not a lot. And that is because when you're turning it out, you're going to have some of this canvas drop away because I'm going to dart it before I write it. And we just want to have a little extra here so that it doesn't just melt away into oblivion. Tends to happen on curved areas because you're darting in and you're not leaving really long pieces, but it'll still hold. It's okay. It's also why when I do ornaments, and sometimes things like this, I'll pull that waste canvas back and give it a press to make the edge better. Okay. Oh, the neighbors are off for some fun. It's beautiful fall day. We nip all our edges. Things like this, it really is key to kind of get them right the first time you do it. Because when you write this and all of these edges kind of start to shred away, when you open it back up again, if you have to, like say you had a monogram on the back and it was wrong and you had to redo it, been there, you open it up and all of this just looks an absolute mess a lot of the times. But it's still okay. In that case, I would come up in to the needlepoint line just a little bit more to make sure you have plenty of sewn, tightly sewn, has something to grab onto. You don't want it pulling apart as you're stuffing it. And sometimes, no matter how many times you thought you triple checked your monogram, or you get some glue on the back from whatever, or some schmutz that is mystery schmutz. It's like, where did that, who? Oh, I have no one to blame but myself because my hands. It's always that mystery grease spot after lunchtime that's why you never eat where you work. My children used to get jumpy. They'd come through my workspace with, this is many years ago, with food, and they get the tongue lashing of, what are you doing with liquid by me? No food, no drinks. Move along. I love you. Goodbye. Come see me when you're not eating and your hands are washed. Okay, I'm leaving this. Like I said, I'm not going to dart this area. I am, however, trying to remember. It's been a little while since I did this. Yeah, I am going to dart this area. Still going to leave it a little longer. Just a little bit. I'm not even really going all the way hard in there. But when it does that curve around it, it needs it. And since I'm just kind of, there's a reason why I'm doing it for this too. So take all this waste canvas and push it in, okay? And this is for stuffing purposes. If you don't, and you start stuffing it, and this hard canvas, if you stuff it, and this goes towards the material side, and you, as you're stuffing it, you can literally see the hard canvas against the stuffing. So let's just turn all of this over and try to get it as much to the inside. actually going to bring this, my iron in. Those fabric pieces won't stick, but let's just get this directional. I mean, they'll let go when I turn it out. And these will probably kind of come back out, but let's just press these over. Yep, one of the things you have to watch when you're doing soft stand-up and when you're stitching a piece that you want to ultimately be a soft stand-up, you have to think about how that edge is going to turn over, how you're going to manage that edge and what you're going to do with it. If you have to write something that has very fancy stitching, long stitches especially, sometimes you'll have them bow out. Alright, so I gotta get my correct knife. Alright, so this is my knife that I always use. It's got a really blunt edge and end to it. Let's get that turned over like that. Okay. Let's try to do this as gently as possible without over bending. Oh yeah, that's a really nice edge. I usually like to use ultra suede. Velvet is nice. It's very forgiving when you stuff. I find that silks like this can be difficult. You tend to get a little bit of puckering as you are, you can get puckering as you stuff it, you can get puckering as you stitch it. It's not, but this is what the customer wants, so we do it. At this point, turn this under and I want it, okay, get that bottom, we're rolling this edge under, okay, because we have that little bit of extra, right? There's like one stitch below the main line. Now, laying it flat, taking my material, kind of manipulating the canvas that is inside, right? Pressing it. Sometimes I use my doll needle just so I can keep my fat fingers out of the way. Alright, now with this laying flat, I want to put this up in. I want to put a finger press line for where this material, front and back, because once this is stuffed, I might not know. It's easy to have the back fabric come lower than where your front fabric is, and then when you put you get it stuffed, and you go to put that foam core piece in, if this front line, the back fabric line and the front line aren't at the same height, when you put it on and you get it stuffed, the back will be longer than the front, and you end up with it leaning, the leaning tree. Alright, let me move my camera back. Alright. I would think that that would kind of become nauseating. Oop, just hit the camera. Alright, let's move back over here. Now, we are going to come in and carefully pull that piece of fabric out. That one's out. And I'm going to dart the edge. Get that one well enough. Excuse me. Okay. Alright, so we take this edge and we turn it under. Now this is exactly what you would do if you wanted to, excuse me, I have to put my board back up, press board. If you, oh geez, sorry. If you want to hand sew it, you would press them all under just like we do for an ornament. You can lay your fabric on top of it and do what I'm about to do right now. You'd essentially put your darts in and around, and okay. And then you would just take your fabric and do what I'm about to do. Now, you want to make sure that as you're folding this under, that you don't let this go slack or pull it tighter, like kind of bowing it like this. Okay, you're pulling it really tight because then this side won't follow this side. You'll end up with kind of a bulgy shape in a way you don't want. Oh, come on. You know, when you're just doing it by yourself, you don't usually have, okay, this kind of having to think about what you do. You just kind of do it. Alright, see, I started to just pull that a little too much. Make sure it's still flat in the back. I'm holding my fingers across it so it doesn't come like this and I pull it too tightly. Because what will happen is it'll be really tight here and then it'll get to the top and you'll go to stuff this and this will bulge out more than this. So you need to definitely keep that in the correct. That's why I was trying. I'm going to get them all turned under. Okay, there. Kind of, sort of finger press it, and then I'm going to lay it down and see how far off set the material is. If it gets way sucked under, you tucked it too much as you were doing it. That looks okay, so I'm going to bring this that little bit of waste canvas. I want to make sure I stitch that to the inside. It's funny, this does auto exposure, so if I put too much, if what I'm working on is very light, it adjusts and sometimes it blows it out and overexposes everything. Okay, so I'm just going to pin right there, and we're going to stitch this the same way we do across the top of a pillow with little stitches. Let's push that back in a little bit because that got pulled slightly. Okay, panning back up. You ready? Ooh. Alright, so I think I better get some more fishing line. I'm just doing a tiny hole. I don't need a gigantic piece. I glue my knot. That is, autofocus is so annoying. Alright. Threading. Glue my knot. Oh, just pulled that knot right into my finger and smushed it. Let's get, as we tell the dog when we put his harness on, let's get suited up. Need my double eyeglasses. I am hitting that camera all over the place today. Alright, so we feed it in this way. Come on. There. Push our little blue blob down in. And push that. Now we turn it around. Now, just for this, I'm going to switch to my thinner needle, my smaller gauge. It's the 1 inch instead of the 1.5, I think. I don't know about you, but I've found that they have made the herb needles and a lot of needles so much thicker when they didn't used to be that thick. I think that, ow, brilliant. That longer 1.5 inch, I tend not to stitch small enough with it. I'm just doing like 2 at a time, so you can fast forward if you want while I do this part. Turn that under a little more. I'm gonna grab that. There. There's a bit of waste canvas sticking out because it's where a curve begins. Goes out a little bit. And then I drop it and it gets tangled. I'm going to pull that, fold it in a little bit because it was starting to get a little too big. And yes, you can do this all the way around the edge and fold a piece over. I had to do that not too long ago with a very large piece that had, it was a pillow that had a lot of ins and outs and very tiny, and they didn't fill in between the flower petals. And it's the only way I could figure out how to do it, because sewing it with a machine, just, you couldn't turn those sides out, those points out, and have them look nice. And as it was, I had to sacrifice a few because I just couldn't accomplish it how she stitched it. I actually have also done, somebody recently, well, last year, had given me one, otherwise I would have shown you guys, that looked like a tube of suntan lotion. And she was putting it in a little gift basket for someone. And how we did it is, and she wanted it to really look like that tube thing. So I used that hard interfacing that I use in eyeglass cases, and I made it exactly like an eyeglass case, and I stitched all the way up around the nozzle, and I left the bottom of the tube open, and then I stuffed it, and I'll be darned if it didn't look like a real tube of toothpaste by using that interfacing. You could do the same thing with this. I'm just not sure how it would be for a base, like how it would form against it. But it is an idea. Then that's just hand sewing and not having something in there to help you put the seam edges together. Good. Almost there. Sorry. So boring. Okay. Yeah. Do another one there. I got a little kind of bulgy thing going on there. I don't like that. But we'll deal with that when we turn it right side out. Let's put a stitch in here for a knot. Not there. Let's grab it from there. And I'm sure you're looking at this going, you got a big bump now. No worries. Take this. We want a long tail on it, so we feed it back into here, way back down here. And you pull it, and you push it. The bump will be gone. Gone, gone, gone. Okay, so here we go. I always stuff things needlepoint up. Let's put my needle over here. Gotta take this stuff off for stuffing. I know this is looking really shabby, but it's what it is. And stuff. Now we stuff it before we do the base. We have to have it stuffed to figure that out. We are using dry polyester packing fill. Okay. This, when you touch it, is not satiny at all. It's extremely, just like it says, it's dry. I don't know if it's how they brush it or how they produce it, but this packs really, really well. This is what you mainly use for dolls that need to have a hard arm without a skeleton. I guess that's my best way for explaining it. The butter knife. Alright, this has a tendency to look bumpy on the back side. Don't worry about this. This is that edge that I did not steam it, so that's still a good line. Alright, so we have to slowly feed it in. We turn it over. We look at how it's going. You don't want to overstuff these, especially with this particular material, because it will get really buckly along the edge, and we want to try to maintain a smooth back to it if at all possible. Overstuffing is the leading cause for dents in the edge. It's better to have it firm and, come on. Have it just be thinner and firm than, you know, this extremely bulbous round piece that has ugly dents along the sides. In my personal opinion, that is. I do not find the other appealing. And what I'm doing with the knife inside is I kind of punch to the front and I punch to the back. Really, the point area you have to focus on and look as you're doing it. You might find that as I'm doing this, I'm holding it a lot more than I say I do, but when I'm adding it in, it always gets turned back the other way. And if you feel comfortable stuffing it without, just go ahead and fast forward. Okay. Okay, now that we're doing along this hand stitched seam on the side, I want to see what it's looking like with the batting as I'm doing it. Again, do not want to overstuff it and have puckers. This is also going to look different once we sew the cording on. You're going to have a little bit of stitch pull, especially with the silk. There's just no getting around it. Pushing this against the side and keeping my fingers around it. So it's almost shaping your canvas. Okay, so now I'm going to do the other side and see how it looks, because that is our seams, hand sewn seam side. It's okay. Looks like it's holding. I worry. It doesn't matter how many times I've done this. Anything that's hand sewn, I tend to be extra cautious on dealing with it, because it's going to look different no matter what. Okay. So what I'm doing is I'm kind of helping the canvas bend along that edge, form to that. See? Not too bad. I'm pretty happy with that. I can definitely live with that. And I want to make sure and feel that it is getting better all the way up. I am going to stuff it a little more on the needlepoint side now. Okay, and see, pushing that all the way up in. Again, because it's hard, it likes to get lumpy. So a long time ago, this butter knife, I was using metal epoxy, and I got a little bit that stuck to the end of my knife. It actually kind of helps in a situation like this, because I can get up there and use that as like almost a little weird hook. How's that look? It's okay. I mean, it's not super bulbous. That's okay. Doesn't need to be. Now, I'm going to try to keep this one a little loftier, and I actually might switch fluff to a different one. Since I'm not trying to cram this up in there into the point, I can kind of leave it a little softer, lofty. Does that make sense? So this is going to look a little, it'll work out. This looks flat because I keep laying it to the back and adding it to this side. But over time it will expand a little on the back side and not look so flat after I handle it a lot more doing the cording. You'll see. There's just kind of no way around it. But for right now, we got those edges packed in. So the nice part about the needlepoint, stuffing it on the side of the needlepoint, it's so much thicker, it's not going to give you that bumpy kind of cellulite effect on the back. Okay. I'm gonna get this. Actually, I'm gonna take and make, I'm rolling it. I'm gonna kind of make a ball to stick right in that corner so it stays stuffed. Always likes to pop out of those little areas. Not gonna make it too big. See, I mean, it literally will ball right up. It is probably one of the closest things to wool that balls like that is this dry. You know, it kind of does this pseudo felting down because it is quite, because it does compact down that far. We definitely need to leave a tiny hole here for our bolt, which will be a nut, excuse me, will be attached to our bottom piece. So we don't want to totally overstuff it, but we are going to put some soft pack in there, and if we have to pull it back out, we will. But this is how we figure out the oval that we need. Okay, see, it's starting to get the pucker edge. So I'm going to come in here, kind of round that with my fingers, right? Still not too bad, but let's not get too nuts with it. Okay, it's time to stop filling, Kelly. It's time to stop filling. I mean, if you don't have a problem with turning things out and you want to just zip, zip with the sewing machine all the way around, I get it. Go for it. There is no wrong way. I just prefer to take the chance. Yeah, that's not bad. That's fine. You can tell I obsess about things like this a lot. All right, so now here we have, and I want you to kind of make it like an oval. Hold on while I find my ruler. All right, hold on. Yeah, right in front of my face and didn't even see it. Okay. I'm gonna do this for. So what you do is I kind of, oop, wrong end. Is I have it like that, And I measure my, and you have to make it a little smaller than the opening. So let's try a 2 by 3/8. Let's make it a little bit bigger, because then we can always trim it down. Okay, hold on. 2 3/8. Oh my gosh. No, it's 2 by 1 3/8, right? I have no short-term memory. 2 by 1. Okay, hold on. I went on to Publishers, a program that I use all the time, and it allows me to make an oval on it. But I know what you're going to say. Kelly, I don't have a computer. I ran out of ink. What the heck? In a pinch, I have done it like this. And usually for the latter reason. My printer's out of ink. I'm in the middle of a project. I don't have time to leave. Etc., etc. I have a feeling the one that I made is going to be too chubby, and I'm going to have to reprint that or just take some off of it. So what you do is you fold it in half. You fold it in half again. Okay, this was your short side, right? Because it's obviously the short side of the paper. Start with a curve like this. Now, is it going to be perfect? Probably not, but you know what? Then you cut it. Boy, that's pretty close. Pretty close. There you go. That's pretty close. It'll be close enough for you to trim it and still have it look good. Because when you put fabric on, now obviously this side got a little blunt when I folded it. It wasn't perfect. So just, take a little more off the next time. But that's a way to do ovals. Okay, so we can literally, if I can grab it, hold this in, and I can tell that that's going to be way too big. Okay, it's not skinny enough at all. All right, I will be back. Should have done more the first time. I had a feeling it was going to be too big, but now I have more note paper. I have a feeling it's going to be the skinnier one even yet. And you're probably saying, well, Kelly, why didn't you just trim a little off of that one? Yeah. Faster, easier. I could've. Alright, let's see how this fits before I take the time to, when I lay that in, and I can see it's gonna go around there, and it's gonna come around. I don't know. I think I need to make this out of foam core. And grabbing my pencil. Since this is the piece that will be face down, I'm using a kind of a lighter gray pencil. Hard. Because if I make it like a big thick black line and it goes down like that into the material, and you're probably going, but why would it that side have to go into the material? Because this side will be exact and this side gets wonky when you're cutting it, because you can never hold it perfectly straight unless you're using some special cutter. And this foam core is really thick, so I kind of bevel it as I'm going along. Keep your point, keep it more vertical than angled. Keep it on the tip, because as you're going around, it's difficult. Okay. Yep, didn't go through all the way. Alright. Need to clean up that edge. Too chunky and scabby looking. Okay. This fabric is so thin that the bumps will show right through. Okay, so now I'm just taking a little, beveling a little, not a ton. I want this to stay relatively thick around the edge for stability's sake. I'm going to knock down that foam a little, styrofoam. Alright, let's double check. Yeah, I think that'll work. If we hate it, once we get there, once we get doing it and pinning it, we will, I don't know, maybe I should take it skinnier. I think I should. I can't go skinnier than this though. Actually, I can't. Well, yes I can. Silly. Put it like this. So here's the reason I'm concerned. When I put this in, and it's flat with each side, the fabric and this, even though I need to roll it in a little more, there's going to be kind of a big gap along this edge. Maybe not. But, alright, I'm going to use this and see how it goes. This is all part of the engineering of something like this. It's hit and miss. I want my lines to go this way. I have plenty of fabric, so I'm not afraid to sacrifice some doing this. The cording will fill in a lot of what I am concerned about. But let's just, keep moving forward and figure out as we go. That's also the other hard part of overstuffing is what it does to the bottom of your piece and what options you have. This is different than if it just ended like here. So it was just perfectly flat, but it has a curve down and then the bottom. So this is going to take on a pedestal-y effect just because of the nature of it. It's tacked on. Oop. Can already tell I'm gonna have a pucker there. let's just do a general. Yeah. All right. I am turning under these rows that I did not steam that need to be turned under. Okay. Now, take our weight. All right, let's talk about weights for a minute. So if I have something that is very large that needs a lot of weights, I go out and I buy the big bolt and I screw the nuts all the way down it. If it's say it's a very tall piece, but it's real skinny at the bottom, like some of the nativity, wise men, things like that. That way you can put this right on the base, right, just like that, okay, and it'll fit right up inside 90% of them. Maybe not with the bolts on, but definitely with just the bolt. It's galvanized, it's not going to rust, so it's a really great option. This, I just want to put a little something in the bottom, so we're just going to do one nut. You could put bolts like this inside of a stand-up that is the boxed stand-up that you know, that you might have feet on if you want to have a little extra weight in it. That just gives you an option of something to use for a weight. I don't like anything that's going to be tiny that can potentially come loose, you know, like gravel or anything that's going to gather moisture. Forget it. I don't want molding inside somebody's piece. And it's just, this is what I've used for the 20 years I've been doing this. So that is my trick. That is it. And if it's really big, just chunk off a part of a brick and put it in the bottom of it versus, you know, lining 6 of these things in there if you really need a heavy weight. So I'm going to make sure this is dry. I've accidentally done that before. Oh, it's still a little damp. So I'm going to kind of make a little hole in there. I have a feeling I need to bring my material down just a skosh. Just rolling it in just a little bit. It's still a little too rounded. We have to sacrifice some of these at the bottom to make sure we're on the same stitch line as where our seam comes in. Otherwise, if it's too rounded, it's just not going to sit. It's going to extend beyond. So let's make a little hole here. And I can see I'm going to need sometimes it's good to do this. Okay. Because then it puts it right around that base and it gets hard to fill more in once this goes, when you're trying to stick your knife in and push little bits in around, the base, you keep hitting that nut and it just doesn't want to go in any further. Alright, hold on. Sorry, gotta get it away from. Gotta figure out how to hold it. Tuck, 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 tuck. Tuck, 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 tuck. Pull that fabric back up a little bit. I'm gonna pull my light here a little because I personally can't see. Now you can see why I say this gets a little more, the back gets a little more rounded just because of how I have to hold it. So I'm just trying to kind of push this, and I'm getting pushed back on the inside because that bolt is hitting in there, right? Okay, now that material that I just kind of rolled under decided to come back up. Turn that around. Let's see if I can get that. Alright, so we're going to push this in. Usually the front side is what I do first. Okay, but because this is rolling, again, lesson learned, should have steamed it with the iron when I had the chance. Oh my giddy aunt. Every pin I pull has glue. Alright, I gotta dowel needle. This darn material needs to roll under more. Just did not stay when I just did that. So let's get that pushed under some more. Almost feels like you're, pushing it too much. But, alright. Now, one thing, you want to make sure that the oval stays between as best you can, halfway point there. I'm going to put you in. Don't want to grab too much of this silk. I'd rather that's a bent one. Okay. Yeah, we're going to neck that in there. Now we're going to come to this end. Sometimes this makes my hand cramp. Bring it up. Okay. There. There we go. Now you see it coming together. Let's get this pinned there. Yeah, we don't want the pressure on the silk. We're holding it in place. And it's going to a little bit. Now we have to look at this, and I can see that the front side of my is tipped up. So we definitely need to pull this in. Now that see, it's off kilter. In my opinion, it's a little off kilter. So we're going to lift it up a little like that. I'm going to re-pin it. Can I do it? Add a little. There. Push that over. So what I want to do now that I have it just kind of held there, looks relatively good, is I want to get this situated in the front. Okay. And here's why. We don't want gaps here. So pin it here. Pin it here. All right. Let this go. Push that hole down. And pin it. Okay. Do you see why I'm doing that? I need holes here and here for the cording. I don't want bumps along the front. The front needs to stay nice and smooth against. Right? Right. But I can feel there's a void in there. So I'm going to have to do a little more stuffing. But once I get the initial hold it in place spots, I should be okay. Pulling that stitch up. It is much more difficult to work with pieces that are overstitched, that have extra rows around it. For me, for something like this, because this is so much thicker than it typically would be. It's much easier to just fold it along the waist canvas and have it be smooth. If I have to turn under a different color, I don't know that that's what you want me to do, is to turn and hide that. And so you might get it back and there's 3 extra rows of color that I didn't know you want it hidden. So if you do extra stitching for something, you definitely need to make sure your finisher knows that was intended. Okay, so this is becoming an extremely important edge that we had finger pressed in, because we can look at this and see, is it going to be flat? And I'd rather have it kind of angle back a little, like so that the front is kind of arched back just slightly, than to have it. But right now I need to stuff. And so I'm going to, because I can feel we have some voids there. So I'm going to take this. I'm going to sit and just do some tuck and stuff. Now, all that kind of extra folding that I did a minute ago, I might have to totally undo that. But this is the side you make the adjustment on, because we don't want to do that with the front. You know, we don't want to keep taking away that stitched area. You also have to watch, sometimes when you overstuff things, these will start looking pointy, dog-eary. Yeah, it's something you have to be careful of. Sometimes it cannot be helped. Sometimes it is the way that it was stitched. All right. I'm going to take dull needle and pull some of that fluff up in to the void areas, so that I don't have to keep stuffing it and have it become a big jumbled yuck. I know, terminology. Big jumbled yuck. Is that the technical term for that, Kelly? Yes, yes it is. Yeah, that's pretty good. We want it smooth. I bent my foam. No. Come on. Push that back down, move it down a little bit to a different spot, and angle down so I don't bend the foam. Okay. Let's see. All right. Little bulbousy there. Okay, I'm not going to get too nuts about that right this second. Tell you, shiny material really shows off the bumps. And it just disappears. Okay. That's okay. What's the front feel like? Mush. Feels like mush. We can't have mush. Take out a couple. Stuff it down. So that nut that you put up in there, now compressed away. Bunch of the stuffing that was around here. If I already said that, I'm sorry. Toot, 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 toot. Get me there. I feel like Daffy Duck smashing the... Oh Lord, tells you what I do. Yes, I wanted to be an illustrator and cartoonist when I was a child, so... Stuffing the genie, he stuffs the genie back in a bottle. And he jumps on him. That's what I feel like when I'm stabbing those little bits in there. showing my age too. All right. Take my dowel needle, slide it in. Should have done that before, but it's okay. I can even do it after, through the stitching if I want. Alright, still gotta go to that end. Okay. Pull this up and back down a little. Angle it better. Okay. Alright. Home stretch. Now I expect you to take all of my years of experience that I'm showing you here and expand on it in what works for you. Because there is no one right way. There's the way that makes sense to you, and you may have other arsenal information in your arsenal that I do not have. And you think, wow, Kelly, you are just way overthinking this. But I would not, I would not be surprised by that. Sometimes I'm like, I say to myself a lot, because I'm by myself a lot, finishing. The dog, unless you give him food, cookies, in the door, out the door, not the best conversationalist. Although he does tend to let me talk however long I want to. Okay. I totally lost track on where I'm going with that. That is so sad. I started thinking about my dog, so distracted. Okay. I can feel that bolt in there. Pretty good, pretty good. That seam's holding well. I can feel that I want to bring a little from here, compress it to the side. As always, be careful how deep you go with your dowel needle, because you don't want to scratch the back side of your fabric and have it run your fabric. Alright, let's shift this up here a little. Alright. I can't say it sits straight because all these pins are all kittywampus down here. And it isn't going to sit. But if I squeeze it down, I can see it's going to sit straight. And if I look at it, time to sew. Oh. Alright, so I brought my I brought my pin cushion from the house because I have to kind of try to keep two sets of tools at both places. And I wanted to bring the other ones because I started having so many pins of my pins at the house. It's like, I've got to bring that because this is ridiculous. Well, now I can't remember which one I put my dowel needle in, and it's kind of ridiculous. they're one on one side of my table, one on the other side of the table. You'd think I'd be smart enough to keep them next to each other. Yeah, no, forget it. Okay, doing my knot. Knot. Okay. Sorry, I got distracted by those two little kind of points. One looks a little higher. Will look okay when it's all done. I hope. You can kind of, with the soft cider thing, you can kind of mush things and manipulate the stuffing so that if it doesn't look quite right, because, you know, honestly, when you stitch these, just for the angle of the stitches, it changes the outline. So for as much as we try to be extremely careful, which side do I want to start that side? Alright, so I'm going to do it. So what I'm thinking about, because I have a really long piece of thread, is I want to start my cording on this side. So if I sew this around this way, this long piece of thread will start here, and I can just go right up. And yeah, that's why I do it. That's why what my thought process is at this exact second. I'm going to start over here. Here. Oh, that pin is right there, and my needle is so thick. Okay, I'm not going to keep fighting with the thick needle. When it comes to the bottom, let's switch to our 1 inch. And the reason that, did I just grab the exact same needle? Wow. There we go. I have to remember that that had a lot of rows that we had to turn under, and it's a little thicker. Nice and tight. You will find that this dry, depending on the fabric you use, you definitely want to use the fusible interfacing because the dry likes to try to work its way through certain fabrics on the back side, this side. It doesn't do it on this silk, but I have seen it happen on other ones and was extremely disgruntled about it. Okay. I'm gonna take that one out. No choice. My thumb gripper does not let the... Alright, I gotta move it back. That pointy end must be down here. Okay, back side, needlepoint side, material side. Sometimes I lose track. This is probably the most daunting task, and I don't want to take these out until I have it knotted. Oh my giddy aunt, are you kidding? Stop it. So once I get 3/4, once I get around halfway, I'm going to dump these. I'll knot it and get rid of these pins. But with the pressure that's on it from the stuffing, if I get rid of them now, I'm going to be fighting a seam and this base could kind of pop off. Tiny. I have to remind myself, keep them tiny-ish. My wanting to go as fast as possible, which then leads to larger stitches, has to be reined in. I can see I've been doing pretty good so far. That's what I get for boasting. Okay. Let's take that. And I'm going to knot it here. Okay. Just testing it. Looks good. Again, you can kind of manipulate the fluff. If it's just a little bit leaning a different way than you want it, you have options. Okay, need to jump over to this side. So we're going to do that through here because we need to leave hole for the cording to begin and end in. Okay, start there. I just grab. Do I have my, oh, hold on. Like, why are my eyes blurry? Why am I not seeing this as well? Didn't have my double set of glasses on. Okay. Come on, focus. What a pain. Trying to make it focus on my hands. I am so sorry. It just likes to... Hold on. Trying to figure out... Oh, let's do this. I can try to keep this over the table more. Keeps wanting to fill the void of that black area, but I can do this for now. I promise. I sew much faster when I'm not trying to make sure it's in the view of the camera. Of course. Anything it can, the thread can grab onto, it will. I'm definitely not a tidy workstation person, typically. But nothing makes you tidy it faster than a long piece of fishing line constantly catching. Okay, I gotta take that one out because there's no way I'm gonna get the stitch I want there. Mm-hmm. For safety purposes, I am putting one in where I took it out, basically. Okay. Some spots are just awkward, and no matter what I do, I cannot hold it very good for you to see. Oh, pins, my nemesis. Oh my gosh. Okay. I want to make sure to, I'm just going to finger hold these two together. As you're sewing, the other reason I use the thicker foam core is because you don't want it to bend as you're using it. And then you have a rocking chair angle on this and it won't sit flat. I say these things to you to not say you would do this and you are doing wrong. I say it because I have done these things and been very annoyed when it turned out to have a bow in it by the end. Luckily, once I put the cording on it, it sat more on the cording than it did on the base, and it evened out. But yeah, talk about make me angry. And all because I just didn't use a thicker piece when it's preventable. Just used something that was, all right, not time. Okay. And I'm going to go ahead and pull this thread there right now. Oh, let's get these out of there. I don't need them anymore. Okay. Get the pin cushion back, glue gun back, everything out of the way so I can try to, there. Let's look at it. Again, we just kind of, you can see me pushing, then manipulating it around. Okay? Yeah, it's a little forward. But I'm not going to worry about it because now we have to put the cording on and it totally changes that as well. Alright, now this has to have a little, the person that does my cording didn't quite, they mash it differently. Did I totally just pull that? Yeah, I almost did. The fishing line that was put on it's almost gone. pulled right off. That's okay. We don't mind. We want it extra flat for where it's about to go in. All right, down needle time. So I start my cording here, and I go around, and when it comes back to this side, it comes around like this and ends here. It's just how I have always done it. Starting it here like this can sometimes have like this, can have kind of a lump effect there. I like it so that the lines are a little smoother than just the circle at the bottom. But that's just me. It's just how I do it. If you like it the other way, that's fine. Alright, hold on a second. Time for cording. I just shut the autofocus off, so hopefully this will do what we want it to do without making your eyes go buggy. Just take our dowel needle. Push that right in, and I'm angling the cording to the back, not straight in. Okay, so it has a nice even line there. Now, going to switch. I have one of my favorite older needles that is a little skinnier, thinner diameter, smaller gauge. Okay. These are kind of hard to hold. Alright. If you feel you know how to, don't want, just fast forward. I'm just going to jibber jabber through this like I always do. I am trying to just catch the needle point on the seam, especially going around the back side, because I gotta try to change my camera a little. I'm sorry. Okay, is it still in focus? Okay. Kind of want you like over my shoulder because I have to hold this. Because on the back side, the silk is going to have pull marks and strain marks from sewing this on. So you want to have it tight to your needle point. You don't want it flopping all over the place. So I'm putting this right in on the back edge of this line of stitches that we're going across. Okay? This is where a curved needle becomes a real challenge, but you really do get the best results. Gotta untwirl, gotta twist my cord over a little there. I go home with fluff bits all over me. Which then my daughter loves to point out, Mom, you got something? Yeah, I know I got something. Oh, unless it is something, extraordinarily, uh-oh, I got a knot. Okay. Oh, no, I didn't. It's just a twist. Illusion. Wondered how that would not. My children have a propensity for allowing me to walk out with glasses on top of my head while I'm, my extra set of glasses that I always wear when I'm finishing. Yeah, if I put them up on top of my head, they love it when I walk out of the house with 2 pairs of glasses on, looking like crazy lady. I also, when I had longer hair, had a headband that I used to wear in some of my felting videos, and they were cheetah ears. It was the only like headband for long hair that was ever comfortable. So I just wear it all the time when I was working. They used to love to let me go to the grocery store with it on. They thought it was hilarious. 90% of the time I managed to realize it before we got in the car because I look at myself in the car mirror or the car window. Yep. Gotta love kids. They still do it, and they're adults. Okay. Oops, sorry. Hit the camera there with my glasses. Okay. As I'm pulling on this, it's kind of manipulating this back area, so I'm going to have to be careful and probably put my dowel needle in and pull that stuffing forward, but we'll worry about that later. Also, be careful of hitting your sewing stitches as you're going around. If you pop a stitch, you may have to end up sewing up a hole. I've had to do that before where all of a sudden my seam edge was like doo-doo-doo-doo, and the little stuffing's peeking out at me like, hello! We know you wanted us to come back out. Oh, snap. Alright, we have a little waste canvas there that has to be covered. feel like you're a little bird on my shoulder at the moment. So I'm not, even though I'm pulling it tight as I go, I'm not really keeping that pressure on it all the way around. I do the one tug, and then I let it go, and it's going to kind of relax a little bit, not a lot. Okay. And I gotta watch as I'm going around that I keep all my twists kind of the same, because if I start over twisting it as I'm holding it, these get tighter, and then you get loose ones in one spot, tight ones in another spot. This is really exciting. We're close to done. I love done. Done is a wonderful thing. Oop, sorry. Get with my glasses again if you saw a wiggle there. I mean, it's literally right next to the side of my face. So, can't. We're in the final stretch. Okay, maybe that's just my optimism talking, but or excitement for being done. Okay. Now on the back side, you have no choice. The back half of the circle, other than to catch fabric. But what I try to do is I try to keep it right on the inside of the base so it's not pulling on the fabric on the back. Okay? I'm still going to pull it tight, because if you don't, it's a problem. We can kind of manipulate afterwards. I mean, you don't want a huge kink up as you're tight, because if you do, then, you know, that's a major problem. I'm just looking to make sure I didn't just do that as I was coming around. Yeah, okay. Yeah. Feel that nut. Hold on. Jeez. I can barely move my head now. Light on one side. You really want to try to get it right on that seam, because you don't want it to push the other way. It has to have a balance to keep it right on that seam. Okay. Get that out of my face. So I need a piece of fishing line. Figure out where to tie it off. It's going to tuck right in front. So we're going to do I use I put a little spit on my fingers like Grandma used to do to snuff a candle out, or you can get these flat nose paddle pliers to pinch off your hot glue so that you do not burn yourself. Okay. I'm going to switch to my smaller curved needle. And get my dowel needle first. I'm going to stuff it right in that hole, right there. Okay. Need to pull this cording back on that side. Okay, I gotta pull some stuff in there too. I know I'm getting distracted by other things instead of finishing what we were just doing, but it bothered me, so I thought I'd better. Okay, so that is in. There. Okay, and pulls that in tight. Yeah, that covered up the gap that I thought I had there. Grab this from there. I want to come up here because this seemed to be pulling away earlier a little. Still is. So I'm going to go through here. I'm going to slide this here. So I've just grabbed that piece of cording and I'm pulling it back onto this seam. I'm going to sew straight through the other piece of cording so it cinches those two sides ends together. Alright, there we go. I'm going to knot it deep. Alright, what is that I'm seeing there? That is a piece of fluff that has decided to work its way up through. My knot is made and I'm going to pull it through again so the tail is not right at the knot. I'm going to cut it off carefully. Last thing I want to do is chop that thread that I just put there. Now we roll this to the back. We roll this to the front a little because you're going to see, I can see, now it's twisting time. Loose front, squish this puffier from handling it. However you want to manipulate it to make sure. I can see that that's okay. Push this to the back. Okay, yep. Good. Good. I know, I'm probably just undoing everything I just mooshed on the back. But, alright, let's move a few things here. And two. Hold on. There we go. Okay. Try to get it. Can't tell if that's sort of in focus. And the end. Okay. All the way around. I feel like it's sitting a little forward, so I'm going to kind of push it, manipulate it so it is back a little more. Alright, see what that did to the back. Oh, the back's fine. Okay, done. Hope this helps and happy finishing.